What's up, everybody? Well, I got another Asus G15 Advantage gameplay video for you guys today, and today we are gonna check out Hogwarts Legacy again, but this time at 1440p, and we get to use the capture computer now. Since we use super resolution, it tricks it into thinking it has a 1440p panel, and it doesn't help it out in any other way other than that. It's not like FSR where you get extra FPS by doing it or anything. But I'm kind of excited to see how 1440p fares. It did pretty good at 1080p even on Ultra, although it did drop a little bit, so we're probably gonna have to deal with high settings, or I might actually have to sit there and mix and match things a little bit, which is kind of fun. In all honesty, it's a little boring for me when a game is just like, oh yeah, you can just go run Ultra presets. I kind of like when I have to work for it and sit there and tinker with the settings and get it working just right, and then everyone else can copy those settings and get a playable experience too. That's fucking awesome. I like that. But anyway, why don't we now not waste any more time and get the laptop hooked back up to the capture computer and get some gameplay in.
Well, now here we go with 1440p, and we're gonna start off much the same way you do it at 1080p. We're just gonna pretty much have the game be maxed out. Besides with ray tracing, we'll do that a little later on. I did turn off these things just like before, and we're starting off on Ultra. So let's just scroll down until we get to the bottom, and we will do ray tracing and FSR towards the end, and then at the very, very end, we'll do my settings with a little camera too. Well, my settings will probably just be camera, since that'll probably just be one of the settings we've already done previously, you know? Well, all right, here we go at the beginning of our 1440p adventure. We got the game on Ultra, with just no ray tracing or anything, and no FSR yet. Let's just see if we can stay above 60 at all times, even on Ultra, inside of the Hogwarts little castle area. We're going to obviously go and do town and forest as well in later videos. I just wanted to get this done with in this particular video. So we'll stick around here through all the rest of the computers, the secondary and the primary. I almost thought, well, I said all the rest. I could have just said secondary and primary. That was kind of silly of me. Whatever, I corrected myself. No harm done. And no reason to beat yourself up. Alright, that was a little too quick, so it's not quite time to return here yet. So let's go do like a little half laugh, like go over here down the stairs or something and then turn around, something like that. Then we can turn around and, all right, that's our quest. We don't want to go in there yet. That's probably a bunch of talking. So now let's go run back over to our stopping point, and now we can go move on. Now time for a little high graphics settings. So let's scroll on down. Alright, and of course we'll do all of that stuff at the end. So let's get into the game and see how high does. Well, now here we go with some high graphics presets. So let's run around again, get a little gameplay in. Of course, see if we can stay above 60, but we seem to stay above 60 barely at Ultra, so we should be able to do it on high effortlessly. Hell, high is probably the way I would go with this so far. The game recommends medium though, so it might know something I don't. Like once we get out of this freaking castle, might be like lag and stutter city and drops down to under 30 once we get to town and the forests. Who knows? Only time will tell. Don't worry though, of course I will go and get that on video too. It would have just been way too long of a video for me to go through all three in one. And it's already going to be a pretty long video as it is, probably close to 30 minutes. But that's okay. Dead Space was about that too. It's just when you got a lot of things to test, sometimes you gotta make the video kind of long. It just is what it is. Better that than being too short and just being like, all right, well, I got 10 seconds of video. There you go. Now the whole video is 10 minutes. You know, that would be really freaking stupid. And super low effort. And who wants that? Certainly not me. All right, though. Let's go run back over to our stopping point and move on. Now we're going to do a medium. So of course we've got to look through all the medium settings here. Doesn't take us very long at all to get through all them all though. So now we can go ahead and we can get into the game already. All right, medium gameplay now. And this is technically what the game was recommending we run at. I believe it even said recommended when I was going through the settings. But still very playable frame rates, and we're still pretty close to maxing out the GPU utilization, so sometimes we drop under down to like 93 or whatever, but that's not that big of a bottleneck. we're not dropping down to like 50% utilization or whatever. That's when you know you've got a pretty big fucking massive CPU bottleneck.
Beat up to no good. Someone gets struck by a curve.
All right. Let's go back up the stairs here and go back to our stopping area, I think. This will be a pretty
nice
perfect
to
lap.
see
I won't
you,
have
my
to like
young
get to
friend.
it and then run around more.
Frankly, I'd rather live it.
All right, and moving on. So, we have made it to low already. So let's go through the low settings and we'll get back to the game. And then after low, we'll start the ray tracing, which probably will not go well, just like it didn't at 1080p, but it'll probably go even worse now because we're trying 1440. Anyway, let's go see how low does first. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Well, now, here is some low gameplay with the presets. And wow, we're still staying pretty close in the 90% utilization of GPU, even on low. Not bad. That's 1440p for you, though. 1440p is a lot harder to run than
I've
1080.
always said that travel broadens the mind.
We'll have to keep an eye on it once we turn ray tracing on. Because ray tracing is CPU intensive, whether people recognize it or not. It's not just GPU intensive. One of the main reasons I had to upgrade my CPU
to
my other rig. I wanted to do Spider-Man with ray tracing, and I was so dang close, but my 9900K would drop me down to like 52 FPS here and there, and I wasn't having it. So I got that 5800X3D, since I had an X570 motherboard lying around, sold the old motherboard and 9900K for like $420, and then after eBay was done taking their shit, I got basically $400. So I basically upgraded that thing for like $8 or something like that, because it was on sale for like $380 or something like that.
The chucking cannons
$384.
are going to be unbeatable.
Anyway, let's move on. All right, now we're going to do ray tracing. So we're gonna put the game back on high, I think, and we're just gonna turn all the ray tracing on. We're not gonna sit here fiddling about with one at a time here. And then we're gonna start off on ultra and just work our way down to low and see if it makes any conceivable difference or not. Well, now, here's ray tracing on ultra, and as I expected, not the greatest FPS. Obviously, it could be far worse, and we'd be getting like 10 FPS, but
I'd like to
this isn't
retire
exactly what
to
I would consider playable. Though many might. That's why we do this.
Handy resource indeed.
So let's just run
your
around for at
field
least a little
guide.
teeny bit here. And then, like I said, we'll just keep moving down until we get to low. And after we're done with the ray tracing, then we will do FSR. And at the very, very end, we'll go get a little bit of my settings in, which will probably just be probably high or something like that, which we've already done. So why bother getting the same thing twice, right? So I'll probably just move right to camera at that point. Oh, I like that. It's like a freaking floating bunch of floating instruments. It's like a floating invisible band. I like the stained glass too. I always was a sucker for that was interesting. It was like a hiccup burp. I've always been interested in stained glass. Anyway though, let's move on. High ray tracing now. But we gotta go through the whole ordeal there just so you guys see there's not any stuff going on in the background just to make it fake it out, make it look like it gets better than it does. I'll never do that, but I know some channels do, and I don't understand why. It seems kind of pointless, but it is what it is. Let's go move on, shall we? Well, here we go. Ray tracing high now. And the rest of the game is still on high too. Now we're getting a little closer to 40 at times, instead of being in the 20s. We were at like 25 to 30 barely before. Now we're more like 35 to 40. So, seems like we gained 10-ish FPS or so, 8 to 10.
Off on another adventure,
bad.
are we?
Some people find this completely playable. Lock it at 30 and boom, you've got yourself a console quality kind of experience. I believe that's usually what the quality mode is on Xbox Series X and PS5. It's usually 30 FPS with the settings cranked pretty high. Not maxed settings, obviously, but pretty close. I just prefer to not have to deal with this kind of FPS. I would rather have a little bit more and just not have ray tracing. That's just me though, so I will probably not be running ray tracing on the
Would be
laptop
sure to tell
or
him
any
how
of my
very
computers for that
much you
matter.
despise.
It just doesn't look that impressive. Like, don't get me wrong, I can tell it's going on, but it's not night and day like Cyberpunk. But Cyberpunk, I can't do ray tracing and have good FPS either without the help of DLSS. Anyway, moving on. All right, now for ray tracing medium. So scroll through here so you can see all the settings, and as you can see at the very bottom, the quality is medium. So with that out of the way, let's go get back into the game. Well, now let's get some of that medium ray tracing gameplay in, and truth be told, it's kind of very similar to high, so I think just like with 1080p, I would just, if I did want to run ray tracing, I would just run it on high and be done with it. I don't think any of the
nice to
medium,
see you,
low
my young
settings are
friend.
going to really matter. They're all going to be very similar to high, I'm pretty sure. The only one that really tanks your FPS more is ultra, which is the case with most ultra settings. Half the time, it's pointless to even do ultra. Not unless you can do it without losing a bunch of frames. Like if I'm already getting well over 60, why the hell not? But if I'm barely able to get 60, I'm not going to go, oh, well, I'm going to go do ultra. It drops down to 40, but got to have that ultra. Nope, that's not me. But hey, computers have these settings for a reason, so anyone who does want to do that can. That's the beauty of it. No one's here saying, nope, this is the way it is, you're stuck with it, sorry.
Good thing Professor Weasley takes
All
it
right,
more
though.
seriously. He's black, clearly.
I think it's about time for us to move on. Last up on the ray tracing is low, before we move into the FSR, so let's just look through the settings one more time here. And as you can see, low. So, let's go see if low made any meaningful difference or if it's the same as high and medium was. Here is low ray tracing now, I almost call it row tracing. But here's low ray tracing, and nope, pretty much exactly the same as high and medium. So I stand by what I said. If you're going to turn ray tracing on and you're okay with
What are you up
30,
to now?
40 FPS, then just go with high. Otherwise, you're not getting any meaningful performance upgrade. You're just lowering the quality of ray tracing
Might as well
at
be
that
so
point.
ended.
Just ultra seems to kill FPS by about 10 extra FPS. Because we were dropping all the way down to 25, 28 points before. And now we only drop down to like 38, 39. So,
In trouble, are we? Been up to that good?
alright, let's go back up to our little stopping point. Then we can start up our FSR. And we're definitely getting maximum
Someone's
GPU
parents have
utilization.
always called me.
Anyway, let's move on now. Now for FSR 2. So, we're going to start off with FSR 2 quality. So let's just show you all the settings we're going to go with. Now, still just leaving it on high. No ray tracing or none of that. So let's just look at it all the way to the bottom here. And with that, we can get back into the game. Well now, let's go do some FSR 2 quality gameplay now. And with that, we are getting about the same FPS we were getting. A little bit more than we were getting at the beginning. I think we were getting like
Nice to
70 to
see
80
you, my young
FPS.
friend.
But since we're going at lower than native res now, we're obviously not going to hit full GPU utilization anymore. So sometimes when that happens, that adds to more stutters and whatnot, I've noticed. But not always. Seems like in this game it seems to be about the same as it was without it, so. But
Not sure he's in
at the
it.
same time, it doesn't really look super bad. What would you call it resolution-wise? I don't remember what they said the resolution fell down to, but all I know is it is not standard 1440p anymore.
I can't believe she said that.
But we've made it back to our stopping point, so let's go move on to the next FSR setting. Now it's FSR 2 Balanced, so just look through the settings one more time here real fast, just to show you guys what all the settings are. I'm not changing them on you just to make it fake it out and make it seem like these are doing a lot more than they should. So we are still on high like we were, which seems to be a very good setting for this particular laptop. And now to the game. Right. Now for some balanced FSR. Let's run
What are you
around
up
here.
to now?
142.
And again, like I said, since we're not at native res anymore, we're not going to get full GPU utilizations. That's not like, I mean, it is a bottleneck, but it's a self-induced bottleneck. And it's not like it's a bad one because we're still getting acceptable FPS. As far as I'm concerned, bottlenecks are only bad when we're like getting horrible FPS, and it's like, okay, well, your CPU is too old or too slow to do it, or your GPU is too old and slow to do it, or your RAM is too old and slow, or not enough of it, something like that. More often than not nowadays, it's like the RAM is just not enough of it.
I did.
Because I'm still pretty sure like top of the line DDR4 is still faster than like what I've gotten here for DDR5, but like I say before, mine's just placeholder RAM. I'm just waiting for like 7800 or 8000 to come out. And then I'll probably be able to get a couple more FPS in some games, which is always nice. Anyway though, why don't we move on to the next FSR? Now we've got FSR 2 Performance. So again, we're going to go through all of the settings. Everything is exactly the same, I assure you, but this does make my life easier when I'm doing the chapters once I upload the thing to YouTube. Better than just having to sit there and watch the entire video and figure, oh, right there's where I end and go to the next one. You know? Alright, FSR 2 Performance. So we got to get a little game plan.
Handy
Honestly, it
resource
seems like they're
indeed,
all
your
about the
field
same.
guide.
So if you did want to use FSR, just go with quality. That's what I'd say so far. Otherwise, it's just degrading the graphics for no reason, it seems. Though, in my opinion, to be best to just not need to use FSR at all. And I'm hoping I can get away with that, but we haven't gotten out of the castle yet, so I'm not going to sit and say, oh yeah, no, for sure. You can get 60 throughout the whole game, because we don't know that yet. Second I step out of here, we might drop way under 60. That's why I'm doing more videos, though. We're going to do some in town, and we'll do some in the forest, too. And I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I know not everybody watches my videos from start to finish, and every single one of them, so not everybody's always going to hear that. Or hear what I have to say, so I got to repeat myself every once in a while. And that's why I always do my listing of specs off at the beginning of every video for the desktops too, because I know how you guys know the specs by heart, but if some newbie comes in here and they don't check the description there, I'm going to have no idea. Anyway, let's move on. All right, last up here on FSR, we got FSR 2 Ultra Performance. So that's literally 480p it looked like. So let's go look at the settings, still on high. And alright, now let's go ahead and get into the game. Well, now here we go, last FSR setting before we get into the camera and my settings.
You can't
We
imagine.
got
how
FSR Ultra
inconvenient
Performance,
that was.
and it's FSR 2 to be exact. So let's just run around for a little bit here.
Awful when they ask you a question, though.
Any news about the dragon pit upon the fall?
And it's nice to be able to like just get my mouth a little bit away from the microphone and go take like a drink or something, or clear my throat without it like showing up superly bad on the microphone. I usually just wear a headset, which had an alright mic. It wasn't horrid, but this thing kicks its ass in terms of quality. And I know there's probably mics that are better than this too, but I liked all the noob-friendly things it did, like not letting it max out. It's pretty much just a setting that just doesn't let it max out and peak, and I like that. And there's also another one where it doesn't pick up noise in the back of my room. Like I got my computer going and whatnot, a bunch of fans and whatnot, and hell, I've even had the TV on in the background once, just to test out if you guys could hear it in the background and know. Anyway, let's move on to camera now.
Alright guys, let's look at the settings here quick before we get into the camera gameplay. 1440p, high TAA. We're not going to do any upscaling, at least not yet. We might be forced to once we get out of this place and get to the city and all that, and the forest, but for now, these are the settings we're going with. So these are obviously subject to change once we get out of here as well. But for now, these seem to be working pretty good now. I noticed at 1080p on Ultra, we did drop under 60 here and there, so I figured, well, let's just do high instead. I don't think it'll happen on high, even at 1440. But there's only one way to find out. Let's go hop into the gameplay. Well, alright. Let's get ourselves a little gameplay in here with the camera. Rhinoceros. A lot of cool stained glass here too. Got a cool like dragon looking thing. It's got like a goat head. There's some ghosts. This was the spot where it dropped under 60 on Ultra before. Seems like we're doing okay now.
Never forget what that Hufflepuff girl said in 1421. What lovely stone. Oh, that's class, that is.
What a talkative little gargoyle. Well, so far so good.
How nice
This
to see you, my young
is a
friend.
frickin' magic game done right. The people who made Forspoken could take some frickin' notes from this. Like, we're pretty high settings at 1440p and we're getting more than playable frame rates. Like, we had to make that thing look like a damn PS3, PS4 game, like in between the two on this thing to make Forspoken work. That was just terrible. $70 for that trash. Get out of here. Glad I prevented a lot of people from getting it though, because they probably saw that like, I ain't getting that trash. Hey, it looks like it plays like crap and it runs like shit on the laptop. So why would you want to play a game that runs like shit, right? Unless it's just really your cup of tea. And if it is, don't let my opinion bother you. If you really like that game, no big deal. I wasn't a fan of it, so that's all it is. It's not like I'm the arbiter of all games. That's just my opinion. Don't like that game. And it really left a really big sour taste in my mouth. It kind of reminded me of All That Is Lazy about games. Almost like Gotham Knights. Both of those are very similar types of games, but even Gotham Knights seemed freaking slightly better at some things. But Forspoken was better at others, so they're both pretty equally bad, in all honesty. Just mediocre. Just my opinion, though. This game, though, looks fucking awesome. And so far, seems to play pretty awesome. Might have to eat my words once we get out of Hogwarts here and get into the town and the forest, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I've always said that travel broadens the mind.
It does. It does. But alright, though. I think that's probably enough camera gameplay, at least for Hogwarts here. Again, we're going to go and redo all the videos as soon as we get out of, or into that town they were talking about earlier. And into the forest as well. We're going to do a triple gameplay video for this particular game. But Anyway, time for us to wrap this video up so we can move on to the secondary PC. Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for Hogwarts Legacy on the Asus G15 Advantage and at 1440p. Now, of course, if anybody wants to see me do it on the ultra-wide monitor 4K, I don't think it'll run very well on any of them, but if anybody wants me to do it, cool. I don't mind doing it, but otherwise, I'm gonna move on to my secondary computer and then primary computer. I'm very excited to see how those play it. But anyway, it handled it pretty damn well, I would say. We decided to go with just high this time, so we wouldn't have any drops under 60 like we did at 1080p. I think ultra is just a little too much for it, unless you want to use some FSR. I'm sure if you turned FSR on, it'd probably be alright, but why bother doing that if you don't really have to? I don't like turning those on unless you really, really have to. That's just me. But anyway, though, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you, and I'm really enjoying this game so far, even though I've just kind of got to Hogwarts, but up till then, it's been a freaking roller coaster and been lots of fun. So, until the next video, peace out, guys.